Right, so I'm going to explain what this chart sound thing is about and how it's put together. You do your chart sound tracks. I don't know. I don't know if you'll have got any either copies of them. You might be one of the few people that has, or you've heard the automation on the Bridge County FM Channel 107 Cream sort of service. It's used for that, and it all comes down to. I'm going to show you how it's actually put together. Songs that are in already processed in chart sound. So you've got these big collections here now for the radio automation. So in these folders here that um, I've got the main playlists for a music station that does chart music with the songs already processed. It's going to be quite difficult for copyright actually to really demonstrate it because you get a notification straight away. Could actually demonstrate. Should have asked UK Craigie if he'd help me demonstrate it because I could do a few seconds of his song or something like that because he's got a couple of songs that have been put through chart sound as well. It's now covered most of the major releases in all pop music now. And any I find it's become a bit of an obsession really. I'll try to add them if they're useful to be added to the list. So even getting in, to some slightly unusual things as well, like this B list is going to be songs you don't hear as often. To the various playlists that are useful for Cream. So you've got the chill playlist for later on, with more like power ballads there. You've got dance music for the evening slot in the power there, and you've even got your Kerrang style sort of metal, sort of rockier sort of stuff here in Rebel and so on. All these different playlists, as well as the collections. Some of the biggest achievements has been actually putting the whole Numbered Now archive out through chart sound as well. So look in this chart sound folder here. A lot of these are used. It's every now. I've actually done this all almost by hand all the way through. 100 up to what is now 108 with 109 coming out shortly. So I'll be doing that when that comes out. So this video actually will show you how it's done. I could have waited till actually 109 was out on now 9 reissue to show you that. It's difficult to demonstrate, but I always kind of want to demonstrate what it is with a song from the 80s, because music then, they didn't apply what is known as compression to it. Now I was trying to explain, the other video I didn't bother with, is that the word compression doesn't actually mean, in this case, the same as it does for the like mp3 file compression, where it's to reduce the data from what is typically CD audio quality down to a lower bit rate, using a technique known as compression to throw away parts of the audio that you won't hear and you can get away with. And you can actually get away with, as you know, making a 128 kbps file fairly listenable. And now that we've got a lot more data storage, hard drives are usually in the terabytes. I'm probably like many others who like to have the audio bitrate higher on the MP3 collection. It's not that sort of compression though. There's another one, and it refers to processing the audio, and this is more in common with graphic equalization or a graphic EQ. So, without going on too long about that, you actually, if you understand what a graphic EQ is, then compression is kind of related to that at least, but it's more complicated. So right from the hi-fis that you've seen that just have a bass and treble control, that's effectively a 2-band graphic equalizer, right through to the ones that have more bands going along. So look at this old school program that is used for chart sound, Winamp, that a lot of people have stopped using years ago, is still heavily in use by me and Cream, etc. Look at the onboard graphic equalizer you can turn on and off, and put the double size thing on so it's easy to see in this video. So with that, you can see that there's about, 11 bands, starting from a low frequency, 70 hertz, which is right in the dum 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 range for your dance music, right to 16k, which is actually above human hearing for a lot of people, especially over the age of 40. And if you look at a program like this one, I especially need to look at, I need to get the more pro program up to do this actually. So you get there's a song that's opened up in SoundForge Pro 12. Now graphic EQ Usually they have bands. If you've seen it on expensive hi-fi, usually that's quite a few bands going up and down. These are the ranges of frequency you can turn up and down. You can make something sound more bass heavy. You can make it sound brighter. And on this one, it's like infinite band on here because you can draw the graphic EQ you want, and it's difficult without copyright. I bet this isn't even included in YouTube's audio archive to take down because it's an old song. So you can make it sound I can't even hear it doing it, frankly. Yeah, so that one you can actually draw it all the way through. Did that not actually process that? Hang on. Like a bypass. There you go. So you can draw it, as you can see. But anyway, that is just to describe that it's at least similar to that. However, this would be very difficult to cover what's going on in this plugin that is used for Winamp called Sound Solution. There's a 1 and 2, and it does multi-band compression. So roughly speaking, it splits it across 5 bands and applies effects to it. Now an EQ is just a volume. Essentially, it's like saying if you've got an 11 band equalizer and it goes between 60 and 130 hertz for one of the bands, that level is just a volume. I'm going to turn that range of bass up, or am I going to turn it down a bit? And then you know, further up, I don't know, 3 kilohertz to 4.1 kilohertz. I'm going to turn that up a bit, I'm going to turn it down a bit. And there you go. It's a volume control. If you flattened out all of these so that they were in the middle, these volume levels of the different bands, the whole thing would simply become a volume level. So what you're doing is making a volume level to adjust different parts of the frequency band, and that's what creates your EQ shape. You can make it sound more top heavy, you can make it sound more top end, more lively, you can pull the bass down a bit, you can put more bass into it. But what goes on with audio compression is more complex than that. It's kind of like an averaging out of the entire volume levels of a track, if you like, and it's used by radio stations a lot to make the sound come more to life, but it also kind of lowers dynamic range. So if you can imagine a classical piece, I mean, I could be looking for things for examples here, which is actually quite difficult to find all the examples quickly. But you've got a louder volume of that bit there that almost goes to the top percent, and then you've got it trailing off. And if this was to be compressed using compression, it's got like a compression thing in here, which I think is called dynamics, is it? Then you can see what it's done. That was a really low level towards the end, and then a high level there, and it's made it more equal. It's made it more equal all the way through. So you've got, but undo that, and it's got like a quieter section there now back. So that happens to pop music as well. So one to open is that back in the 80s they didn't actually compress music very much, so that had higher dynamic range. They left the levels to be lots of different levels. That actually makes it a bit harder to hear while you've got a car engine going. And that's one of the reasons why radio stations want to process all their music to make it easier to hear. So let's open something. I'm going to open Swing Out Sister from 1986 on the original Now 8, not the reissued one, because they've applied a lot of compression to that. And see, the whole thing isn't topping out all the way through. It's got quite a bit of natural range. Actually, I know a good one I know a kind of better one to try this on. Actually, I know that Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody was included on Now 21. That's where it is in the numbered series because of the reissue. And it went back to number 1, after Freddie Mercury died, and that's why it's on Now 21, that was released in spring '92. Well, on that, you can see there's lots of dynamic range when you open it still here, because look, there's lots of quiet bits here. But then it gets really rocky towards the end, doesn't it? So there's your dynamic range, like a bit of classical music. It has its ebbs and flows. It has its moments of lots of drama, and it has its sort of quieter moments as well. Now let's have a look at the song in chart sound. Let's at the waveform. To do this, I'll have to open the mp3 right up in SoundForge, because I haven't got the WAV version of the compressed one right to hand, so I'm going to have to do that. So let's open up Queen Bohemian Rhapsody as it sounds in chart sound, or as it looks. So it's in this direction here, where we've actually managed to explain what all this is about. Wow, what a difference. So that, we're going to explain how chart sound is put together. There it is originally, looking like that. And then the chart sound one, which is up from the right, same CD that it was processed off, has done that. So everything's kind of been leveled and brought up, and it's more of a uniform sort of level. The quieter bits are not so quiet. So get roughly the same section compared to, won't be exactly the exact same section, but you get the idea. So that versus that. I'll tell you, I'll show you something else interesting before we go into the actual how chart sound is made and so on. Is this. So I opened up Swing Out Sister from Now 8 back in 1986. That hit Breakout. Here is the waveform of that from the CD. Here it is actually. It doesn't have, this track doesn't have lots. Isn't as easy to demonstrate as using Bohemian Rhapsody, because there aren't lots of different sort of dynamic range, lots of quiet sections and loud sections. But just as overall, it doesn't go right to the top. It's like it's a more moderate level overall. And that's what it looks like. That's off 1986, the original Now 8 released on CD then. But what we'll do now is, they've been reissuing these on CD, the early Now compilations from the 80s. And here it is. It was just right in 2021. They reissued Now 8 as a double CD, because originally you'd have to go into all of this. When Now 8 came out on CD back in 1986, it was a single CD, which actually meant that about double the tracks were featured on the tape and LP and not on the CD. But of course it was luxurious getting a CD back then, and they started double CDs from Now 10, but these reissues have kind of fixed that. You can now get most of what was on Now compilations actually on CD, and Now 9 is about to come out. But anyway, let's have a look at, this is the waveform of the same song, Swing Out Sister Breakout, on the reissued CD in 2021 of Now 8. What a difference. It's now peaking. It seems to be absolutely hitting the peaks. 0 dB, 100% volume, whatever you want to call it. This is because compression has been applied to most tracks from around the 90s, and they're made, like I showed you with Queen Bohemian Rhapsody, it kind of brings the volume levels up, in quieter sections, but it's not quite as simple as that, but and sort of levels everything up. Thing is though, a lot of people who are like audiophiles would rather hear the original, who would like to hear the good dynamic range, but there is a fun side to it, and the reason why radio stations will use it, and probably why it's on a lot of modern CDs, even when they bring out classic tracks like this out again on CD, they still apply compression to it. The best side of it, although you're losing dynamic range and what the original should sound like, is that it can sound more lively, more energized. And that's probably why I like chart sound so much, but I do realise that to have the original is good. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen as much these days. let's hope we can have a few seconds of copyright then. So that's what that bit sounds like there, roughly. And there is a difference. I mean, it's not so tiring on your ears because pounding at sort of high compression levels all the time, it kind of gets a bit much, but it's a higher energy. It's like a sort of, I don't know, Coca-Cola versus having, I don't know, lemon juice and ginseng or something. The only metaphor I could think of. So we get back now to what the chart sound does and why it's kind of in use. Well, I had the idea of actually putting songs through compression already applied to them, so you can either run it using. So what this does is it acts as a compressor to anything that Winamp is playing. Just make sure that this is, yeah, we're on direct sound. So it's especially obvious if you play the ones that haven't been compressed. So I'll just open up now 8 again. Just check we're recording there, because that would be a bit annoying, wouldn't it, if we weren't. Open it up, the actual 1986 one. Just put it there because we're about to do something after. There it is without. Oh. And that was it with. Quite a difference. Now Winamp can, with this sound solution, it can play everything through that processor there, which is split into enough things that it would be too complicated to talk about. A multi-band compressor over 5 sections, rearranging them from obviously the bassiest side to the top end. And it's got things like this. On top of that, it's got things like a stereo expander that can make the stereo image wider. It can pump more things into the bass with this bass thing here. And there's lots of other complicated things. And tweaking around with all these things, I've actually made a few of my own custom presets. This one that's called HH Hands is actually the chart sound one, but there's the one for 107 sound is that one. So you can see all the sliders of the different levels, values changing there. The cream sound one is that one. And go back to chart sound, it's actually that one. And there's Good Time and a few others I've made. The ones that suit oldies, the ones that suit dance music, supposedly. So I've hit on the idea that you would need Winamp to play this every time you wanted to hear it and play it on the radio in this sound. However, Winamp has another thing that's always built into it, which is called the disc writer. In that, you can output whatever Winamp's playing into a WAV file. And what's interesting, you can even join one together in single file mode to make like a playlist. So if you want to edit a radio show with links, you can actually put a load of songs together in a playlist and idents, get it to write it out to a single WAV file, and you can edit it together using that. So that's a useful thing you can do. But if you don't enable single file mode, every file that gets played will get put out as a WAV file. And what we do here at the radio station is create already processed copies of the songs by actually running them out through that disc writer. So right here I have all of Hits 56 ready to go, because that's what we're about to put into chart sound. So I'll just show you what these collections are before we go into this. So in these playlists, these are already done chart sound copies where it's been written out, playing through that compression plugin in that preset, so that now if you play these files, it will be on any normal player, or obviously, in the case of radio, there's shoutcast servers and things like that already play out mp3s for you. It will have the compression already applied, and now the collection now of the songs that have already been put through chartsound, and as chartsound mp3s, covers most of the big hits, but not absolutely everything. Um, in sort of pop music history, but I'm always discovering more that haven't been done, and if they're useful to the Cream playlist, I'll add them. So on this main list is just sort of main hits from '52 to now. Just added Tori Amos Crucify last to this. So that already sounds like that, and then there's all these different ones, A-list artists, other playlists that might be useful, such as the chill power ballads and love songs and so on for later night. In the chill folder here, you've got the oldies, good time there, the rock and roll movie and TV songs in the popcorn folder. You've got power dance anthems, the evening dance, some in there, and you've got even got like a Kerrang style, sort of the heavy metal, sort of rock, grunge, emo sort of songs that have been all done in chart sound in that Rebel playlist folder there. But also, in addition to this, there's been some quite big achievements. Lots of ordinary pop songs put through it. One of the things has been to do all the songs of all the numbered nows actually in chart sound copies, which obviously took a long time to do. So now with the reissues as well, but we know they're already compressed, as I was talking about. So that means that the chart sound goes on top of that as well with those, right through to the original now 8. I can't get the original now 4, but everything, because of how expensive it is. But we've done all the way through now from number 1, except right through to 108 was the last one. 109 is about to come out in 2021, and now 9 is coming out as a double CD shortly on the reissue, so that'll sort of complete that collection. So that is all available in chart sound, as well as many others like the Now Christmas and so on. Now dance, some of the Now Dance ones, and I'm just recently started doing, as well as finding the individual songs as well that could be useful to add to the playlist. I've also started doing the Rival Hits series as well, and pulling songs from that. So we're going to this folder here, and that's what I'm going to use to demonstrate how it's done. So Hits 56 is what's being put together. So here it is. You obviously start. I want to start from a WAV lossless copy. So I only had an MP3 collection of Hits 56, which they had this hit series that was a rival to the Now albums. And instead of following a smooth numbering system, that's what it did at first. It had like the Hits album 1, 2, 3. Number 5 was the first to come out on CD, and it was a similar story to the Now albums, in that they just had about half the lineup of what they released on tape and LP, and that was back in '86. And so I've managed to get the Hits album 5, so that's been put through in chart sound. Then they had the numbers from that going 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then they stopped then. And that was late 80s. This came out with Monster Hits, so there was Monster Hits Snap It Up 1 and 2, and that was kind of 11 and 12, and then there was the Hits pack and the Hits album, that was kind of 13 and 14. Didn't do that in chart sound because it has annoying track overlap. In other words, when one song's fading out, they just start the other one. You therefore can't use it to get a clean copy of any song. Then they didn't bother with the Hits albums through 1992 at all, when the Now albums were still going. It would have been interesting if they had, because on the Hits series, which was run by sort of rival record companies, the one run by the Now album compilers. So so artists like Madonna and Prince and quite a few others were exclusive to the Hits series. Then they came back with Hits 93 volumes 1 to 4, which were kind of rivals to the Nows at the time, and then they started doing, if you remember these on CD shells, Fresh Hits 96, Huge Hits 96, Big Hits 96, and they did that sort of pattern from around sort of 96 through to 2000, and then God, I mean, it's such a story in itself, just because they didn't stick to numbers. The last one that had a sort of different title was something called the Music, the Definitive Hits Collection in '01, and then they decided, as Now was up to 50 by then, we're just going to have hits 50 now to sort of parallel it, and they did that from the end of '01 through to 2004 when it stopped with hit 60. So right now in Chart Sound, I've been doing a lot of them. There are, of course, overlaps with the albums. There are overlaps with the hit series itself, as a lot of the time on fresh hits, huge hits, etc. They kind of re-release some of the bigger songs again, and sometimes it's just too much to go through what's unique. But it is bringing quite a few more in Chart Sound, and so right now we're up to hits 56 being done, which is, I think, in the middle of 2003, which is what I quite like, with songs like Christina Aguilera, Fighter, and just looking at this CD I bought for $14.97 in Asda back then. But if you want a second-hand one now, at least it's only £2-3. Yeah, it has things like that. But Big Brother's favourite things, Mystique, I'll get it back. Sean Paul, Get Busy. Some artists there, Christina Aguilera being one of them, that they managed to get the rights to, that the Nows could not. So it'll give you more. I've done most of the big ones anyway, but it does bring a few in. So what you start with is, I only had it in MP3, so you start with a ripper like CDEX to rip it off in WAV. But when you do it in lossless, you could use FLAC as well. You're doing the exact same quality as on the CD itself, because if you didn't know this, CD audio is 44 kilohertz sample rate, 44.1 to be exact, with 16-bit sound quality, which is a very simple way of putting it. It's the amount of different steps of volume level that can be counted. So a higher bit in that is more resolution, if you like, and it's stereo, 2 channels. MP3 can reduce. Now that bit rate, the bit rate of that, I know off the top of my head, is 1,411 kbps, kilobits per second. But MP3s can often be 128. Like I say, a lot of people want a bit higher now, because we have got more storage. Hard drives are in the terabytes. Why not go for 256 or more? It does sound a bit clearer, so why not? And that's exactly what I do. I use a variable bitrate when putting all these Chart Sound MP3s together. They're not done down to 128. Originally, I ripped all the Nows, ordinary MP3s of them, at 192. But I'm now going for like a variable bitrate between 192 and 320. I mean, you could, which means it doesn't stick at an exact bitrate. It kind of tailors it to what is happening in the audio at the time. But the sound of the MP3 encoder on the latest CDEX, the Lame 3.99, is very good. It does it very well indeed. So these sound brilliant now. So you rip that, which I've already done, and then you have your lossless archive, which I keep in folders, which means that if I'm making a radio show, I will use the lossless version to play, or in a project, because that's the best quality. Most radio stations do that. So you have that here. Hits 56 has gone there into this, and then you open that up in Winamp. Looks like there's actually one track missing. I'll just put it back. You open that up in Winamp. There it is. Christina Aguilera, Fighter is the first track on disc 1 of Hits 56, and you have the Sound Solution Pro plug-in here, where you select your plugins. And to actually create chart sound copies, you go to Disc Writer in the output. Well, at this point, it will not play it. It will start to write it out as another WAV file for each track, but already sounding like it does through that Sound Solution plugin. HH Hands, which is the name of a fictional radio station in Chart Sound. And then you've just got to wait for it to do it. The faster the processor goes, the faster it can do it. It's writing to a spot on an external hard drive with these copies. And really, we've got to pause the video there because it does take a bit of processing power to go through full 2-length CDs, converting these waves to chart sound. But I will actually come back through the video to describe something else that happens before we deal with all those tracks that have been exported, and I'll have to turn them into mp3s. Something to do with the cover art. So here's Hits 55, just last done. Made a chart sound logo, and you can see it's actually based on this one's kind of been made a bit more difficult to see. It's based on the Bauhaus font, 93 font, a CD with a circle instead of the O, and that waveform is actually the first song that I think that ever got put through chart sound, which I worked out to be Queen Bohemian Rhapsody back in 2012. That was the first pop song I did, as I started with, I think, now 1991. And so that represents the start wave of it at the top there. So there you go, that's the logo. But the normal logo of chart sound looks like this. And there it is with the red. So what I do then, what we'll do is we'll try and do the Hits 56 cover live that I'll need. So as mp3s can have cover art, I will put a with chart sound logo over it as well. So we'll go back to where I've hopefully got a copy of the Hits 56 cover, which looks alright. I'm going to resize it down to 600, which is actually, although mp3 cover art can be bigger than 600 by 600 pixels, that artwork is taking file size as well, so I'm going to reduce that to 600 by 600 from about 800. You can have very high resolution copies of CD cover art, including from your own scanned versions. That I have a scanner. Sometimes I'm very lazy. If I can't find the cover art online, if someone hasn't done a good one onto Discogs or something, I'll actually have to go and scan it myself, which I might have even done with that one. So I've got the Hits 56 cover there. So what we want to do is we want to stick this chart sound logo over it, but instead of just slapping on the standard one, I kind of want to make a quick design that will blend in with these colours to represent the actual cover it's going on. So I'm not sure if I'll do it from scratch or I'll take it from another one. So I might just go with say that one. Oh no, hang on. Not transparent around the edges, that. No need to go for. So there's quite a few variations here. Such as that. So what you've got is that the sort of overall colour scheme of Hits 56 is sort of bluish to sort of orange or yellowish orange. And on this one I managed to kind of managed to get that sort of greenish yellowish blue thing represented in the chart sound logo there, so it nicely blends in. So for 56, what are we going to do? Well, I never quite know what I'm going to do with each one, but you also, with a lot to do, you don't want to spend that much time on it. You need to kind of get an idea going. So, but you just want to do something blended. So we need something that's going to represent the kind of bluish thing that's going on with that swimming pool thing and the sort of yellowish orange goldish sort of look of the Hits 56 there. So here you can see that's already got a goldish one. That would actually, a goldish sort of I don't know, sort of almost going into the red range one there is actually would be fairly good, but nothing blue. Two ways really. You could do a flood tool with a gradient, which is, you've seen lots of things where something slides across the hue in colour. Right, in this case it's kind of starting at yellow, it's reaching blue by the end of it. And in Paint Shop Pro, which is what's being used, you can create your own gradient. Annoyingly, I have to name it first. So I go for a sort of sea blue to gold. That's what we want. So this colour drop tool will pick out any individual pixel's actual colour. There you can see, it's probably too small to see in the video, but red, green, blue. And there's the levels, there's the range of it. So you've got red level going between 0 and 255, green going between 0 and 255 as well, and same with blue. And those levels can make pretty much any colour, well, more or less. So what we're going for? Go for that sort of thing there. So that at the edge of it, there's your blue. But we want to go right. We want to go to the edge here. And let's see if we can get the gold one. So that goes across from that sort of, sort of navyish blue right over to the sort of slightly goldish orange over there. The only thing is, there isn't much green going on in this picture. We don't want it represented really in this hue scale. So it might be an idea to pick some sort of yellow, like maybe even a faint one, just to. I didn't want to change that actually, so I need to put. Oh no, it's gonna move. Can we undo this? I'll go back to that. Click on that again. Go back to that again. Yeah, more like that. And you've got to create a new marker in the middle. You can have as many of them as you want, I presume. Go for. Well, that's a bit extreme. Going right to red like that, and then back to that sort of goldish orange. So you could have something like this. Just trying to temper that away a bit. I'm still seeing a bit of the green there. Pretty difficult to get rid of it. So we'll kind of make it more mostly that. Try this. Then you got the position of it. So the angle, as you can see, turning it round. You could even get it to do that, repeat or something. You could have like a texture thing. You could have a texture of the swimming pool through that, but again, how complicated do you want it to get? And what you seem to have to do is, you seem to have to use the flood tool to bring it in. And there's complications over which areas it's going to flood and which it's not. But it's all going to end up pretty small, you're not going to really see it. And you ended up with that. This represents it fairly well in the colour scale, but it has a bit of a drop shadow here. Now you could represent that red, I think, that you see. I mean, it's almost at red from the orange, so this drop, that's the drop shadow control, how far away it is, how much, and the opacity, the transparency of how much of the original image, it still shows through it, as you can see, from 0 to 100%. Try to go for quite a high one and try that. And that just gives you that. You see drop shadow using an awful lot of graphic things, and that just gives you that feeling there. And it kind of does blend with it really, but there's another thing to do as well. Maybe give it a bit of transparency, opacity it's called, where you can still see some of the original image through it, so it's not as dominant and just blends in. And that looks alright actually, because I was thinking could go for like the swimming pool texture inside the chartsound thing, but actually that's alright. That's nice and subtle now, and it's just there. Won't be very big. If you're happy with that enough, you can now go ahead and save that as the image to use on the mp3s when they're ready. Now during this time, it's probably still doing the processing of all the songs to the chartsound waves or WAVs. And we've only got a couple to do, so we're nearly ready to go to the next bit now. There you go, just checking it's recording. That's all through this OBS Studio screen capture thing that's going on here. So just about, but they're going to be ready in just a bit. I mean, it's a quad core. If this was just a dual core, you'd be waiting, I don't know, 3-4 times longer for this at least. So there you go, the last one's coming out now. It's gone and put those new WAV files onto this external drive here in the Sound Solution folder. I use date modified. You have to keep selected it all the time. Find where the latest files are gone. So first thing to do is, there's hits 56 disc 1, tracks 1 through 20. So cut and paste them into their own folder. So that's going to be hits 56 disc 1, chartsound. Control V, paste. Then, it's taking a while on this, just because we're making a bloody video. It took a while. Then disc 2, same thing. Control X. You can do it all by keyboard. Control X to cut, ready. Control Shift and N for a new folder. Name it. Rename, by the way, is F2. You just want to, if you're on a folder, you can actually just press F2 and you get a rename on Windows. See, like that, just press F2, got that. And then press Enter on the keyboard, go into it. Control V is paste. So Control C is copy, Control X is cut. So you got that. Now, these file names ain't what you want. So first I used to do it manually, but I'm now using a program called File Renamer, which I've even paid for it, because the Pro version lets you drag folders in and such, but still. I also paid for it, about 20 quid, because I'm so grateful for whoever wrote this, because you would have to manually rename every damn song otherwise. Because what I want to do, okay, so you can see it's got these numbers before them. We just want the you know, the 01 Christina Aguilera Fighter, so on there. We don't want these other numbers that Winamp's disc writer has put there. So you got, in this software, you got remove 4 characters. So you selected to remove characters. You can remove as many as one, so we can do a mass renaming. And it can be at the beginning or end of the file name, so it's at the start. You press preview first in case you've made an error, see what you're going to get, press apply, it does it to the lot in one in that folder. Also do it in disk 2, obviously. Preview and apply, and then I tick this thing here, start from the end of the file, and insert text. So you got space, brackets, chartsound. So basically, without this program, you're looking at renaming every single one and having to put chart sound at the end of it, which you could do by pasting it, but it would still take a while to do that with a big thing like this converting. So you preview it, make sure you didn't put it twice. There you go, apply, and it does it to them all in one in this program. So, but there's another thing. You think that's ready now to be turned to MP3s, because those chart sound converted WAVs, they now sound like they're playing through that Sound Solution plugin without needing Winamp and Sound Solution, and that's the whole point. So Christina Aguilera Fighter, it's going to sound lovely and bright and loud now. Oh yeah. It's not the end of it though, because I could be dragging it into CDEX to make the MP3s right now. But there's something else I've got to do first, I'm afraid, because of a little glitch that happens. Now this is going to be a bit of a copyright challenge, because sometimes it puts a little click or bump onto the audio as a result of, I don't know, the processing or something. And you're going to hear that every time you open the file, or it gets played on a radio station automation, or as I do. These chart sound files are also used in my car stereo, so I've got the really loud, bright, brought to life music instead of the original copies. Oh, and just perfect for demonstration. There's one right there. It's converted it, but it's gone and put a little click at the beginning, which means I've got to go and drag it to a wave editor. Might as well use the basic SoundForge here. You can snip it out. You can snip it out, but I'll reduce it to volume 0, and then do fade in to cover any residual sort of things that might be left. And the reason for doing that is it keeps it the exact same length. So there it is. It's gone. Problem is, I have to check every other song for it to see if there are any others before we go and commit them to MP3. Unfortunately, I didn't bother in the past, and there's quite a few clicks still left there. So let's see. Delta, Goodrum, etc. I've got to do this, I'm afraid. I could pause during it. If I don't notice it, it's going to get encoded with it in place. Do it quick. Just listen out for it. Not that one. Not in that one. Not in that one. Not in that one. And so on. That has a teeny little one actually that you can barely hear because it's almost right at the start of things. So you drag that in, and there it is there. Right, that's where the track really starts. But there's your little clip there. So. And I think it does it because it probably does it because at the very end of tracks where there's a tiny amount of residual noise, it probably processes that to a really high level like a click. It's probably the reason it does this. But I'm not actually don't fully know why, but that's probably why it does it. So that one's fixed. So you've got to get through these. There was something else to mention as well. I've got to be careful of your EQ on Winamp. If you're actually using it, which I've got a chill preset for, it will process that EQ setting along with the Sound Solution one there. So I've actually done that to about several hundred tracks once and had to redo every single one of them. I've actually got a deliberate one now called Chill Sound, where I actually do deliberately include one of I think that is the chill pattern there. It makes it smooths it all out a bit, for late, sort of for power ballads like Curtis Stigers. I wonder why, and Vanessa Williams, Save the Best for Last. So I actually deliberately do it, but you've got to make sure that is off. If it's on, it's gonna go and do it on your chart sound copies there. So right, so bring this up. Pop play is generally used for this. Just checking it. Could use VLC, but whatever. Thought I heard it there. But thanks to this, even the cheesy, cheeky girls songs been chart sounded now. I don't think I'd have gone on my way to do it if it wasn't just part of the hit series. So it looks like disc 1's ready to go. It's just disc 2 now. that sounded a bit dodgy, but that's actually what it sounds like in the. It's not the clicks, what it sounds like anyway in that song.
See,
Craig David's cover of Sting. That's Sean Paul at his busiest. Looks like we're going to get a full house here without them, are we? We are, very good. There's one little thing, just want to get rid of, if there's a dot in a file name, like feature dot, it'll go and convert that to an underscore. So I've got to root all them out in the file name. Again, a bit of a nuisance. So it just goes to show it's a little bit more complicated than you might have thought doing this. There's just a few things you've got to kind of check out each time. Like that. So that's probably ready to go there, and then you've got a few more of them. It's annoying. And then you've got situations when you're doing the general titles of songs, like you've got to find sort of foreign sounding names. You've got to find like e-graves and other characters sometimes that you get. I know the alt key for e-grave, it's where it's cafe instead of e. It's alt 130, but the easiest way is to go and find the title on the internet, the proper one, and then go and copy and paste that straight in without having to find the alt codes for it. So that looks like it's ready to go. So another bit of keyboard before. So CDEX. So the MP3 encoding settings for the chartsound MP3s are something that I have to make sure you got. It's virtual. It's a variable bitrate between 192 and 320. Stereo, definitely not joint stereo. Joint stereo is a way of cutting down on. It's like a compression of just the stereo. I find it sounds better if that's just left the stereo. So it'll work out when it needs to be different from left and right, and actually compress that information as well with joint stereo. I find the stereo, just stereo without joint stereo, sounds better. It's set to very high quality there, and 0 on that slide there. It just sounds really clear. And virtual bitrate method new. What's annoying is you have to keep going into this because for some reason it keeps resetting at a random time to default fast standard, I think it is, which is there, preset fast standard, and it just wipes your settings out, and then you find you've done a bunch of MP3s not in these settings, but it does. You might think, oh, it's kind of quibbling over small details, but they do sound really clear and good with these settings. So I want to make sure it's using them every time. So unfortunately, I have to keep pressing that little cog there and check it hasn't gone and reset it on you every time you do it. So that's a bit of an added nuisance there that you've got to do. So that's the settings, and now it's ready to drag in. But annoyingly, SoundForge has made those little things there every time it opens it. So you got to sort of do your control selective, select and press encode. Not usually normalizing code, because that one does bring up the average level for you to a level like towards 100 or whatever you set. So that would be a further processing and changing of it again, which we don't want. Just want a straight encode. But normalize is good when you've got quite a low volume source going on and you want that brought up. It will actually bring it all up. That's quite good to have as in your MP3 encoder. So there's hits 56, disc 1 being done, and we're not right finished with all this after this, because there's a few more things to be done, to worry about. So on a quad core, it's reasonably fast going through these MP3s. It doesn't take that long. You can get it done in about a minute. A CD's worth of these MP3s, all nicely converted to chartsound. So I'm just waiting for disc 2, obviously, but there is something that can be done that'll help the final bit, and that's the ID3 tags you get in MP3s that tell you the song and title. If you've got radio automation software, it's going to be picking up on those and putting out that song and title information, etc., out on the stream, so you kind of want the information to be right. So what I'll do is I'll refer to the ID3 tags I had for when we originally did hits 56 and actually convert them to the chartsound copies. And there's a way to do that using software to make it a bit quicker than actually doing it manually that you'd have to do. Because when you encode MP3s from the CD, CDEX can put quite a lot of information into those tags. When you convert in these chart sound converted ones, all that tag information from the WAVs isn't there anymore, obviously. They're just plain MP3 copies with no tag information, no song and title information. All you've actually got is the file name. So I use another piece of software that's made by the makers of Winamp, Nullsoft, which is an MP3 tagging program. And this is still updated, unlike Winamp itself, which I think was bought out by Radionomy but isn't being used. So it's got a really handy function here. I'm gonna go look for the Hits 56 original encodes in regular MP3, which is here. Those folders there. I then drag that into MP3 tag. So I've now got Hits 56. You arrange it by path. So it's like disc 1, track 1 going right through to disc 2, track 20 at the end there. And you see it's got all the information there. It's got the song title, album, all that, the genre, the comment about it, which I kind of wrote. Shouldn't have wrote a little / there. And the cover art, which is the feature added in the last few years, I find really good. And there it is. Right, so what you do is Control A selects everything. Control C, presumably, we can do it this way. We'll copy every tag. This is a real time saver. Every tag for every track there. But we'll just hang there a minute. By now it will have encoded all the MP3s. So let's go to the folder that goes to. They're all just stuck there. So I've got to put them in their own folders first. So there's the MP3s of disc 1. So you can see it's all a bit time consuming, this. Creating the chart sound copies. It really has to be done, you know, in this methodical way. So there they are. Disc 1. Yeah, we already did that for the WAVs, didn't we? We've got to do it for the MP3s now. And now there's this too, yeah. Yeah, the usual cut and paste, yeah. Press something wrong. Say the F word under your breath. No, don't, because no one else is here. Say it loud and proud. And yeah. So there's that there now. What we do is this. That took a worryingly amount of time, probably because of the wear and tear on this drive, constantly copying and pasting things. Copy the tags again. And now these two folders with the new chart sound copies, we obviously be dragging them into MP3 tag, highlighting them, and if I press paste, it will actually put the corresponding tags, because they're exactly the same songs in the same order, onto them. So these chart sounds, they're going to have all the same tags, like the song and title and the artwork. It's all going to be there. Oh, well, that's the end of it, isn't it? We've done it now. Oh, no, we haven't. I'm sorry. Well, it did show you putting the chart sound logo over and how that was a bit complicated to do. Well, now we've got to change the cover. So I remove that cover. I usually save it, because if you don't do that, it tends to kind of keep the old cover. It doesn't get rid of it. I don't know why. So you have to sort of take it off and then save it again. And now go and find the new cover, which is just with chart sound logo on that, on the Hits 56 cover. That's all it is. So gone and put it in roughly the same place as the Hits 56 cover was anyway. And it's there. Like I say, it's just, yeah, that's it. Same size. Press save. And, well, is this it? Have we finally got the copies now? Well, not quite. There's just a couple of more things to do here. So I'll put when it was added again. I usually put this because if you move files around, the dates tend to change. So I'm embedding a record of when they were made. And you can see that it's the 13th of July today at 25 past 3, so 15:25. I'll actually write, if I'm doing this in the middle of the night, I'll actually write the 28 for 4 a.m. and 27 to show that I stayed up late. So that's my sort of code for that. And then I've even got the custom date thing there that I put in brackets what the weekday is from 1 to 7, which is an idea that I've never seen anyone else do. But it means when you're writing a date, you actually get the information of what weekday it is included. So that's my system for doing that. I've made if I put 8, it means it's a bank holiday Monday. If I put 9, it's at a very rare time, and it happened after the Jubilee in 2012, where it's a holiday Tuesday as well. So there you go. So 2's a Tuesday. So there you go. So that's it. It's written that out in all of them. That comment at the bottom, which I always put in everything ripped. So it's when the CD was released. I'll try and find that, a little bit about it slightly, and when it was added. And there's also the genre on like songs. You have to find out what the genre is and all that. When it's just but it's all for this. It's all for the music archive. So now adding, I might as well add it to the chart sound one, which is when who put it together. So that's the compilation. BMG at the time, which was rival to the Now series. Telstar TV, it was one of their compilations, and Sony Music TV. Sony actually joined with the or ended up buying out BMG, didn't it? And that's why in later Nows they were able to get the rights to all the songs that would have been on hits, and the hit series was no more because the same company that ran Now That's What I Call Music bought them out anyway. So that's actually a reason why it kind of tapered off finally, completely, in 2006. However, they have actually brought the hits thing back, just calling it the Hits album various. If you've seen that in supermarkets recently, you know, like the Hits album 70s car songs. Well, it's a very generic name, isn't it? So why not? So, yeah. You might even think this is kind of sad, this level of detail, but this is what happens. So I've got that. Is that over now? But remember how we put about chart sound on every single, well, file name there. So it's the file name, but it's the chart sound. There it is in brackets. I used a file renaming program. Unfortunately, I want it to show on the tags when it plays that it's the chart sound one as well. I haven't found a way in mp3 tag or any other software. Oh, don't know what it's undoing there. Redo. Maybe it undid that in a few songs. I don't know. If it says it's different, it doesn't. Right. I know. It's it undid that. Crazy stuff. I wrote that. But anyway. Yeah, it undid that. When I wrote the companies that put the compilation together, even including that in the tag information. There you go, let's write it again. So, I've got to put basically at the end of each song title, I've got to put chart sound in the tags as well. I haven't found an automated way of doing it to all of them in one go in mp3 tag or any other software, so I'm afraid I just have to copy and paste it and save it every time. For in this case 40 tracks, but then you've sometimes got ones as big as 100 to do. And it doesn't take that long, you just do this, but it's what you got to do. So there you go, I've kind of shown you now. When this is done, it'll be ready to cut and paste into the folders, and I can pick any of the songs for the automation, which is done on the computer next door. And I've shown you the folders where, say the main chart selection is a main chart pop dance, and then you've got other playlists like chill and power dance anthems. So, and that is how you put it together, and I've shown it on video. Yes, so there you go. Now, of course, there's not much else to do except do all this, yeah. Slightly painstaking, but couldn't really demonstrate much of the way it sounds because of the compression. So yes, literally like this. You can just go with us and talk about another thing that I'm going to be mentioning about the Champlain Tower South in the next video. Oh, there's a slight error there. So what's good about this program is if you notice like a slight error, you can actually rename it right in the program, and it'll still like apply the changes to it. Get busy. And did quite like this era as well. Just a capital, yeah, in the featuring there. So that, Guantanamo, nearly there now. That must be a cover of Tasman Archer's Sleeping Satellite. So some of these are quite weak, even including songs that didn't make the top 40. Such as there was a Rihanna with it spelled Rihanna rather than the Rihanna that we all know. Some of her hits were featured on this Hits 50 to 60, and now being put in chart sound just because of that. Right, so there you go. Gone through that. It's probably it. Just going to do the thing for the disc number. That's hardly anything. It even has that encoded in it now. Well, let's have. I think the Comet section could be improved a bit in ID3 tags so that you can write a bit more about it and have it pop up. Could work as an EPG as type program information for video files as well. So that's all done now. So all we need to do is go and put it where it is, and then all the usual backup will happen to it later. It'll get copied to all the drives, and it'll get put on the automation, and several people I admittedly copy it to will get it eventually as well. So that's it. That's how chart sound is put together.